From 1998, she became a councillor. 2006, she joined Parliament. In 2016, she was appointed as the first female leader of opposition in the history of Uganda's politics. On this episode, I dedicate it to Hon.Winnie Kiiza, who is now a retired from active politics. Remember, she served in different positions when she was still a member of Parliament. But importantly, now she is also among the leading people who are calling for united forces of change, who thinks that Uganda should have a different face as it regards to leadership. Honorable, welcome to the show and thanks for allowing to speak to us.
Thank you, Ivan. And it's always an honor to speak to Ugandans and the entire public. I always feel so humbled. Thank you.
Great. Honorable, when we read your political history, you began in 1998. What could be the motivation behind you joining politics at that time and probably opposition?
At that time, actually when I started my political journey, it was during the movement system of politics. We had no political parties, but I was always critical of things that were around me. I needed to have my voice heard about anything, and I always expected leaders to do certain things that I thought were for the greater good of the population. And so even when I contested as councillor in 1998, I had served in different capacities at secondary level. Went through the leadership as a head girl of my primary, but at the same time at high school. Went through leadership levels at secondary school. We had the first students' council in our secondary schools. I was the district female councillor from the school, the students' representative into the students' council. So I really wanted to have my voice heard, not necessarily mine, to use my voice to speak for the others. And so because of that, when an opportunity came that there was going to be decentralization, that government was being given back to the people, I said, I think this is an opportunity for me to get closer to where decisions are made, to get to a place that is used for speaking about what humanity needs. So I offered myself as a district councillor. And I was just fresh from college. So when I offered myself, I think at the beginning people never trusted me. When I came and I was contesting with women, I was not married. This young girl is now coming in to contest with women, and the issue was this is a women's seat. There is a youth seat. I think this young girl can go and contest at the youth level. Well, at that time, I lost. But the margin was so small that I felt proud about it, that people trusted me. I hadn't been in mainstream leadership. I was just coming from student leadership. And I said, okay, I think it was good enough. But as fate would have it, the person who won was a head teacher. And the law barred civil servants from participating in politics. So she just had an option to make, either to remain in council and resign from the teaching profession, or remain as a teacher and resign from council. So when she looked at the pay, she said no. And I think she also wanted to progress in her career. So she decided to quit as a councillor after 2 months. So there was a by-election. I came back again into the by-election. So when I came back, I think I was overwhelmingly voted as councillor. So that is how I started my politics. I went to the district and I was made a secretary for finance and administration. I finished that term. Then the second term, I was again overwhelmingly voted and was made the Secretary for Social Services. So I continued serving the people with the dedication, and I spoke about issues that touched the common person. So really it wasn't a struggle for me to come up as a woman representative in the 2006 elections. And remember, at that time we are now going into multi-party dispensation. But before then, I had supported the reform agenda candidate, and I was one of the speakers and coordinators of the reform agenda in my district. Doctor? It was Dr. Kiiza. So I supported the reform agenda candidate even when we were into a single party system, because this was just a pressure group that was bringing together those they perceived to be in the opposition. So I started my journey now at that time. So when reform agenda was progressing, I mean when we went into, when politics was opened up to multi-party, and reform agenda metamorphosed to now the current FDC, after a merger of other political parties with a reform agenda, then we came up with the FDC. So I became a flag bearer for the Forum for Democratic Change in 2006.
Yes.
And I became a member of Parliament. And I really would like to thank the people of Kasese who trusted me at that time and continue to trust me to serve them until the time I decided not to seek re-election. But even up to now, we still work closely well. And I thank the people of Uganda who gave me an opportunity to serve them as the first leader, first female leader of the opposition.
Honorable, analyzing your 3 terms you spent in Parliament, a number of things happened. But I want us to briefly focus on when you were elected as the leader of opposition and the case that came up in Parliament when people were fighting for the amendment bill of age limit, right? Yes. As a woman, leader of opposition, having a lot of men, a lot of other MPs spearheading them, how was that experience? How did you feel? Were you not, didn't you reach a point and you feel like you can't handle that?
Well, I really want to thank the Forum for Democratic Change Party under the leadership of General Mugisha Muntu that trusted me with that huge responsibility. Because when I was elected leader of opposition at that time, there was kind of a scuffle at the party headquarters. There are those who thought it wasn't right, first of all, to even name the leader of the opposition. Because at the time when I was named the leader of the opposition, the party had problems. Our candidate had lost, and there were voices that were saying we should shun Parliament. So there were other voices that were saying, yes, we can go to Parliament, but we should not accept that we are in the opposition. So these, and then there were those who were saying, no, let us go to Parliament and participate in everything and make Parliament a front where we can still continue speaking our grievances, while there will be those who are not in Parliament that will also continue fighting from outside. So these voices were pulling here and there. So when eventually the decision was made to have me appointed as the leader of the opposition, the issue changed. In such a circumstances, it couldn't have been a woman. As if a woman is less of a human being.
Yes.
No. I think we should just have decided not to even front a leader of opposition. But what was surprising is that those voices that were saying it is not right to have a leader of opposition went ahead to say we can only name the chairs of committees. The committees that are basically supposed to be chaired by the opposition in Parliament. Those are the accountability committees. So we kept asking what would be the essence of not naming the leader of the opposition, but we still go ahead and have people appointed to committees that indicate that we are in the opposition. Because at that time the issue was our election was rigged, we are not in the opposition. So we said no, as long as we have allowed President Museveni to get sworn in, we automatically get into the opposition. Maybe we can say, okay, let's shun President Museveni's Parliament and we don't go there We just go and tell our voters that, look, we see it has no value for us to go into parliament. But others said no. So we said, okay, since we have accepted that we are going there, compulsorily we shall sit on the opposition side. You are accepting that we name committee chairs, so we must as well name the leader of the opposition. So those contradictions, my appointment was received with mixed feelings. We even had people who had to even demonstrate at the party offices. But later on, I think they came to appreciate that it was wise for the party to come up with the leader of the opposition, because they saw the parliamentary front also yielding results, working well with the other fronts outside parliament. And so to me, when I went there, I knew that there was a role I needed to play. One, to let people understand that being a woman is not a crime, and that women can equally serve as good or even better than men. And so every challenge that came towards me was an opportunity for me to let people understand that women are capable leaders. So I didn't look at it as a way of bringing me down as a woman or to cause me to fear. What I knew was that we are working as a team of both men and women, and honorable to that, honorable men and women.
Yes.
We were working as a team. There was no woman, there was no man. All of us had the people's mandate, and we had to use it for the people's good. So I realized that I needed to bring this clearer by uniting the team in parliament. And so for me, that is what stood out for me, that we worked as a united team. I think my colleagues never looked at me as a woman. They respected me as their leader. I didn't look at them as men and women. I looked at them as colleagues and as friends in the struggle, or comrades in that struggle of ensuring that the people's voices are heard in parliament. And that is why we achieved what we achieved.
Honorable, what is that moment in your tenure as a leader of opposition that you regret or that you experienced which did not work out to your plan as a leader of opposition?
I think the moment that did not work out for me was a bit personal. Many things never worked the way we experienced. You will realize that when we went out to call upon Ugandans to resist the amendment of the Constitution, we expected that Ugandans will speak volumes like they were speaking, yes, when we went out there to consult them. But when eventually the amendment was made, everybody went into their beds and we said it is already done. We thought that Ugandans could use their power that is given to them by the Constitution to say enough is enough and possibly march on the streets. Because everywhere we went, Ugandans told us those provisions were put in the Constitution as safety measures. There were safety valves, the term limit and the age limit. Now that the term limits have been dealt with, that was in 2005, we wouldn't want to see the age limit being done away with, because we know that is the only safety valve that we are still remaining with. So when everything was done, the parliamentarians put up a fight in parliament and nobody spoke after that. I felt a little bit demoralized and disappointed. But the second issue was when I went out of my way to go and speak to President Museveni about the killings in Kasese, and the president confirming to me that he was going to release our people, and it took him 7 years to release them. That was another disappointing moment, because at that time when they attacked the palace in Kasese and killed the people, I was still leader of opposition. Now this was a little bit more personal to me, because I was leader of the opposition, yes, for the parliament, but this was my constituency that I represent. I went out of my way to even go and approach Museveni, to negotiate for their freedom, to negotiate for justice. And I realized that I was talking to someone who does really not have any feelings for humanity.
So, Honorable, you have said that people did not come out to demonstrate or to protest what came out immediately after voting in Parliament. The state of politics in Uganda now, do you entirely blame it on people not doing their part, or leaders are partly to blame?
Both of us are to blame. There are times when the leaders do their part and the population looks on. And you know, there is an extent to which a leader can't go. If you are a leader and you know that you are speaking what your people believe in, and you think they should do just that, and they don't, what do you do as a leader?
But Honorable, I think we have seen people coming out to demonstrate like in 2021, and we have seen what has happened.
Yes.
The regime has resorted to imprisoning them, killing them. So some people may be fearful for their dear lives.
You know, that happens because we have let a few people to demonstrate. And when they are few, they are easy to deal with. They deal with them to scare away others. But if we can all speak in one voice and say, higher, come and buy, let us all go, they will run sort of things to use. If, for example, people from Bugisu came up, the ones from Ankole came up, the ones in Buganda came up, the ones from the north came up, the ones in Rwenzori came up, and we all rise at the same time, how much manpower do these ones have? So the unfortunate bit is that we let a smaller section of the population deal with the issue that is close to all our hearts. So when they are a smaller population, they deal with them selectively.
And you see, Honorable, with the opposition, now we have had a number of issues in different political parties, even e.g. from For Democratic Change, where we are a member.
Yeah.
There is splitting. You find there is this section, DP, UPC. So you find there is a challenge.
Yeah.
Now people who believe in the other section, you find they are maybe somehow supporting the government. So I want us to bring this aspect of FDC not being in the right order, not shooting in the same bucket. But recently we have seen you have formed United Forces of Change at Katonga faction. Yet, I remember you served with the likes of Nandala, Honorable Nanda Mafabi, Honorable Patrick Amuriat, and their MPs and other leaders they have. What do you have to speak about that?
You know, the dictator uses so many ways to cling on to power. And one of the greatest weapons that a dictator uses is divide and rule. So he will get one of you, speaks to you in a language that he thinks will be different from the one he will use on the other. But then he keeps throwing in issues to make sure that you fight amongst yourselves. Causes you to disrespect each other and also not to trust one another. So when there is lack of coherence and trust amongst yourselves, you're bound to fight. But the other thing that should be made clear is that I think Museveni has systematically made Ugandans poor so that they all look onto him for survival. There are those who get into politics for purposes of survival. So they will go into the crowd of the opposition, for example, thinking that the opposition is going to get power, and that when it gets power, maybe they will be in influential positions of leadership where they can easily get money and survive. Then there will be those who will get into politics, whether of the opposition or on the government side, having the people at the core of their mind, and knowing that I'm going into this politics, basically I want to use it as a platform to air out the concerns of the population and or to be in a position to provide service. Now, those are two different classes of people. One is going there for service delivery, while the other one is using politics as an opportunity to either make money or to get fame. So if they can't be in position to get this from being in the opposition, they will quickly rush to where they can get what they wanted. We can't blame them. Now, the current situation that you are talking about of the United Forces of Change, it is a coalition of the willing. Actually, even individuals are invited to be part of it. We are not waiting for political parties to come in entirety. There are some members of other political parties who are saying for us we can't be part of the coalition.
I think like DP.
Yes. Now there is a DP that is eating. You can't speak while there is food in your mouth. Now there is part of the DP which is still consistent and is saying a lot is not happening. We still need change in this country. We can't continue pretending that all is well when our people are still not having the basics of life. Our education system is still the way it is. The roads are still as they are, what we're talking about entirely in terms of infrastructure. Our agriculture system is dead, and yet it's the backbone of our economy. So there are those who still think that they can still play a role in pointing out these ills in our society to make Uganda a better place for all of us. And then there are those who think that by getting a salary, having their egos satisfied, then all Ugandans should clap and say we are happy. We are not the same as human beings. We are molded differently by the Creator. So we keep facing these challenges even in our different political organizations where we are.
Honorable, the so-called the junta, the same way you people call him, he has used the tactic of buying party leaders, president's general secretary. So now, like in your party, he has not done so yet. Do you think, because in 2021, by the way, he said he wants by 2026 to be done with opposition.
Actually, he was saying by 2021, there will be no single opposition. He will have swallowed them like samosas. But you saw the music he danced to. As long as he doesn't fix the ills in our society, no amount of money that he puts across for party leaders, other party leaders will emerge. Because these parties are not individual organizations, or they are not individual business kiosks. They are institutions of leadership. And they have a reason why they exist. For people to form a political party, they have values, they have principles, and so for you, when you no longer believe in the same values and the same principle, you fall off the train. And when you fall off, the train continues. So there are those in these particular political parties who still believe that there is a lot that we desire as Ugandans, that we deserve better. So even when the secretary generals of those political parties go, even when the presidents of those political parties go, a few that will remain will put the pieces together and continue in the journey until possibly changes happen, and these changes will happen.
Now, do you think that time will come when we will think about rejoining elective politics?
Well, it will depend on circumstances. First of all, I didn't say I will never get re-elected, because I can come here and I say I want to contest the presidency. I just said I'm taking leave from re-election as the woman member of parliament for Kasese district. And to me, I believed that we needed to create space for as many people as possible, so that together we can have a voice. At least now I know that there is another woman who is speaking about the issues of Kasese. There is the woman that I came after who is also speaking about the issues of Kasese. I can confidently speak about the issues of Kasese. So we are now many women who are talking about the issues of Kasese. So if all other leaders can have that heart of saying, let's be as many as we can all maybe share the national cake, but at the same time understand the ills that we have in our society, because others don't understand what they are. They don't even have any slightest clue, because they have not been closer to where those decisions are made. The more you get to understand what is happening in Uganda, the more you get annoyed.
Honorable, as a woman who has served in this government, what thing do you credit about this government?
There is a lot that President Museveni's government has done, by the way. It's only that other things it is going now, it is barring the good things that they did. For example, we credit them as women for creating an enabling environment for us to participate in leadership. Because the 1995 Constitution is the one that came up with a full provision on women participation. It wasn't in the previous constitutions. So to that we say thank you for following the international standards and ensuring that women are catered for. These international standards have been there, but other governments have not taken them on. But I also thank our women who were before us in that closed system, who stood to firm on their feet and said women must be recognized.
The likes of Miriam Matembe.
Yes, the likes of Miriam Matembe, the likes of Winnie, the likes of Cecilia Ogwal, we really thank them. And with that has been done by this government. But now it is again killing that spirit by not putting women into responsible leadership positions. Even when they put them into responsible leadership positions, they are not the ones taking the decisions.
Because I was going to ask you.
Yes, they are not the ones taking decisions. The decisions still have to come from number one.
So, Honorable, you are telling us that Honorable Robin Anabanja, the Prime Minister of Uganda,
everybody knows. That is why she will go wherever she goes and says, hey, don't think this is my money, this is Museveni's money, even when we know that the money is taxpayers' money. So Robin Anabanja, yes, she's a woman and we thank her. She's our Prime Minister, but she doesn't have a veto power. So for us, we are looking forward to a system that will recognize women and give them the power, the power and authority to make these big decisions, the power and authority to really speak as leaders in those capacities.
But when we look at the
and then there was also the issue of security. Everybody really thanked the government of President Museveni for security, but he's the same person who has now diluted it. When you see people being killed on the streets, people being murdered, the Butahimbas are increasing, you just go into a palace and kill people unlimited. Really, would you still think I will say I credit you for security? You think the families of the people who have gotten lost and nobody wants to account for them will say there is security in Uganda? When you move in the country, you see guns everywhere. If you like now, all these busy streets of Kampala, they are guns. It's like we are in a battlefield. What does that indicate? That there are challenges in our security apparatus, and that Ugandans should not sleep and think they are safe and secure. So some of the issues that President Museveni's government really was being credited for, because of overstaying in power, he has relented and is now working hard on retaining the power to himself.
Honorable, as a former senior member of Parliament, every time we see members of Parliament increasing and piling, and as I talk, they can't fit in the Parliament. So how do you advise the government? Because we see we are having as many members of Parliament as possible, but few people participate and bring an impact. Do you think that this increasing number in Parliament will help Ugandans?
One thing that is clear, that's part of patronage. I think the president just wants to patronize everybody. He knows that there are no jobs, and so kind of Parliament has been like another avenue for employment of people. That is why the numbers are increasing every other day. But too, as part of patronage, Museveni is using the creation of districts and constituencies to continue holding on to power, because he knows that when he tells people, I'm going to give you a constituency, but you should give me somebody who believes in me, no matter whether they go there and sleep or what, as long as they can vote and say yes, bring them to Parliament. So he wants to keep on holding people hostage. But he's doing it at the expense of taxpayers. While the number increases every other day, the output is getting lower. Many times when Parliament wants to involve members of Parliament in debates, you will hear a member has been given 2 minutes. Really, 2 minutes. There isn't much you can say in terms of policy. And that is a body that is responsible for policy. So what policy options will you give in 2 minutes? Even to senior legislators, they tell them 2 minutes. Before you even bring up an issue well to guide the nation, they are telling you your time is up. So the advice I can give is that, one, to reduce on the cost of administration, the size of Parliament needs to be reduced. It is possible that it can reduce. For example, if we came up with a policy shift, and we say now we are dealing with the districts to begin with. Currently we have 529 members of Parliament.
Yes.
And you say we have 146 districts. If, for example, we said there is a policy shift and a radical policy shift, we are going to have 2 members of Parliament per district. To begin with, 2 members of Parliament per district. Each district should come up with a woman member of Parliament and a male member of Parliament. You will find that you will come now to around 200 and maybe 90 something. You will have reduced it to more than a half, or to closer to a half. And the saving will go towards service delivery. Parliament can now have sufficient time to discuss, so that when a member raises up to speak, can have 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, you will have gotten a guidance from a member. But currently, 500 people, they don't even fit in the chamber. So each one of them will be outside and they start now speaking on remote. Member comes, rushes out just to be heard and is making a statement, whether it is related to what is on the floor. They don't care as long as they have been heard, 2 minutes and they run away. Which is not constructive for a nation like ours. 2, we can even choose to have regional representatives. And we just radically say now we are going to have, maybe there are 21 regions of the country. Each region will give us 5 MPs.
Honorable, is what we are speaking realistic in Uganda?
I'm talking about radical decisions to cut costs of administration and to make Parliament a viable and visible Parliament. So by that decision, people will even now begin thinking of the caliber of leaders they should send to Parliament. You can't tell me that a whole region will really not have the capacity to look for quality. Because when they say we only need 5 members of Parliament from Rwenzori region, Rwenzori will look for its best. If they are not in Kasese, at least they can't fail to be in Bundibujo. They can't fail to be in Chenjojo. They can't, let's talk about the greater Rwenzori, or maybe we combine Rwenzori and Tora and say, let us have 1 member of Parliament. We just go to the entire Bunyoro and say, let's have 1 Parliament. We go to entire Buganda and say, let's have. That can sort us the cost of administration that we have. There are these regions that we originally had on independence. We can even go to those original regions that we had at independence and we say, let us just get 10 MPs from each region. So they become regional members of Parliament. Because after all, on arriving here in Parliament, you become a national leader. So it makes no big sense to have so many districts and so many members of Parliament who will not be visible here. It's just a waste of taxpayers' money. Many people may just think that maybe I'm speaking like that because I'm out of Parliament. But these are some of the issues that we're talking about. I would even tell people that it doesn't matter whether I will be affected in that process as long as we are saving money for the taxpayer to receive services on the ground. And also to enable us have really clear policies. When it comes to a time of making policies, you will find like around 4 members of Parliament who are consistent. And it's unfortunate that I'm speaking about this matter when we have lost the Honorable Cecilia Ogwaro. She was among those consistent members of Parliament who will sit in that house and deliberate on issues of national importance, and you really see cess coming out of the legislator. So if we can do that, maybe it can be another way of, one, saving on the costs that we spend on administration, but also improving the quality of legislation.
As a senior member of the new opposition party, how do you advise government? Because I was reading before I came here, checking on our national debt. It is skyrocketing every day. How do you advise government to strike a balance between how we manage country debts and then service delivery?
You know, as ANT, one of our values that we pride in is integrity and zero tolerance to corruption. If you have a government that believes in zero tolerance to corruption, a government that has leaders of integrity, those debts you can't anchor them, and you continue calling yourself a government. Much of the money that we are paying as taxpayers in terms of debts has been swindled to corruption, has been abused and misused. They bring it for roads and use it for State House. So you will find the Auditor General's records indicating that there was money Uganda borrowed for agriculture. The money is still on the account. By the way, if you read the reports of the Auditor General, they will show you that Uganda suffers from constipation. We don't know how to utilize funds, and moreover, borrowed money. But if you said, let me go to the real account and see whether the money is there, you will not find it there. What I've just been talking about of the bloated cost of administration, we have reached an extent of borrowing money to pay workers. This is just misuse and abuse of office. If we had a government of integrity, we wouldn't reach an extent of having a bloated cost of administration that curtails service delivery. We wouldn't be thinking of serving ourselves first as leaders at the cost of the taxpayer. Because that's why you will realize that every big event that happens, like the one we are having of NAM, when they come to audit it, they will find that there was misuse, there was corruption. Recently, when they were auditing COVID, there was a lot of misuse of money and corruption. Much of the money that was collected for COVID went into people's accounts, and people have built houses out of the money that was meant to go for the sick.
Yes.
And the people who were sick were not getting the services. When we finished Chogam here in 2000, was it 2008? Yes. A lot of money that was meant for roads had been eaten. So even now, and I can tell you that is one of the reasons why we do our things in a rush. We don't want to do things systematically, because when you are systematic, corruption is reduced. But we want to do things in a rush because during those procurements that are done hurriedly, then people do shortcuts to get kickbacks. So to us as Alliance for National Transformation, we believe that things can be done better if we reduce on corruption, if we get leaders of integrity into positions of leadership, and that if things are done on merit, not necessarily because we believe in meritocracy. If you are into a job, you qualify for it, and therefore you don't have any apologies to make to someone who wants you to do wrong things. But there are those who are into government offices who are there because maybe they believe in a political perspective, or there is a politician who brought them there and they have to toe a particular party line. That does not help in doing things better, because you have godfathers and godmothers to please and to serve. So if you can be doing things on merit, you build systems, you ensure that the institutions work, then you will curb corruption and people will receive services. That is what we can tell the government of President Museveni.
Before we wind up this discussion, I want us to bring out an alternative policy measure that we think can help to reduce on the rampant unemployment. In Uganda, I think even a few weeks from now, we shall see Makerere producing other graduates. But we are having a number of people coming out of schools, coming out of universities, but jobs is, getting a job is still a mystery.
I think as a country, we needed a policy shift from the current system that we have of education to a different system. A system that empowers our learners to be job makers and not job seekers. Currently, government made a shift. I think they wanted to change the curriculum, brought a new curriculum on board. Unfortunately, Uganda will do things as if we are firefighting. The new curriculum that is now currently being implemented is one where the teachers are clueless about what they are doing.
Yeah, true.
You are finding teachers telling you, we don't know how the curriculum runs.
Yes.
They are still undergoing training. But as they are fidgeting to be trained, many of them have not been trained by the way they are teaching our students. So what are they teaching that they don't know? Now, you think those students will come out of that curriculum knowing what they are supposed to do, when the one guiding them doesn't know what to do? Teachers are still grappling with the new curriculum.
And we can't blame them.
And we can't blame them because the government did not prepare them for that shift. Now, it is the same as even the old curriculum that we had was one that was not preparing our students for jobs. We have only concentrated on a program that makes our children job seekers. Someone knows that I will finish Makerere and go and look for a job. They are not teaching them to be creative and innovative. So if we are to sort the unemployment question that we have in our country, we needed a policy shift to ensure that our institutions of learning are really more practical than theoretical. Let our children get out of school. By the way, in other developed countries, they start identifying the interests of a child when the child is growing up. So that the kindergarten part is used to identify. They will bring different toys in an environment of learning, and they see what the child is concentrating on. You will see someone who will be an engineer beginning to construct blocks, and you know, in this child, there is an engineer, civil engineer.
Yes.
Then you will see another one taking serious interest in aeroplanes. Then you know we have an aeronautic engineer here. Then you see another one, for him all the time is into writing. He is into writing. You can know that here, possibly we have a writer. So you develop the talent of the child. We have an inbuilt system by the Creator that enables us to excel. But here we are only teaching our children to speak good English and write it, and we shall be particular with the English and having less concern and regard for the output that we are putting into the job market. So our students have learned to speak the good English, but put them on work, nothing. So we can only solve the unemployment question by rethinking our curriculum and realigning it to the current situation, knowing that we are an agriculture-led economy. So we would be kind of teaching our children how to really change their environment within limited resources, but also make credit affordable. There are those young people who have the passion to use what they know. There are those young people who have the skill, those who have taken it upon themselves to have some skill, but they don't have the capital to begin. And if we can make capital affordable, we have startups for young people that are structured, then our young people will be innovative, they will use their skills to create jobs for themselves and be able to employ their fellow young people. And in that, we shall be able to solve the unemployment question.
Yes, finally, Honorable, what do you advise the President as regards to power transition? Because I think you are seeing what is happening with a number of things in the country, the MK movement, etc., etc. As a senior politician, you must be seeing something beyond what ordinary Ugandans are seeing.
I think all Ugandans are seeing that Uganda is slightly going out of step, sliding towards a mismanaged country, and they would want to see leadership transiting without necessarily shedding blood. The 1995 Constitution talked about a dark history, and the message in it, the preamble, was that they were looking forward to a better Uganda. We have waited, and this better Uganda, I think, is not coming. We seem to be sliding back to the old Uganda where we said, considering our past. We are now again saying, I think we are going back to that past. So I would really implore President Museveni to think about that constitution, which he championed in making. That considering our past, we have never seen any peaceful transfer of power from one leader to another. It would be very, very important for him to think about Uganda much more than himself. But as long as he continues to think about himself much more than he thinks about this great nation called Uganda, Ugandans will pay the cost. And to some of us who are active participants in the politics of the country, we are headed for trouble. As long as President Museveni doesn't think that he has a duty, he owes Ugandans a duty of care. Many people died as he was becoming president. He would be having it at the back of his mind, if he still has a conscience, that people should not die as he lives. While he told us, yes, that he came in his like a quarter pin, which was pushed in with a hammer and therefore must be removed with a hammer, that mentality of his should change. He should give Ugandans an opportunity to have another leader without necessarily using blood or without necessarily using a hammer. Because by not being clear and open on the transition, then he invites hammers to find a way of removing the quarter pin. And it will not be easy for the citizens of this country. We all keep wishing Uganda the best. This great country deserves better. And therefore the managers, including President Museveni, needs to know that Ugandans deserve better leadership. And that the transfer of leadership from himself to another leader needs to be clear, because this is not his family affair.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Do you have a message of hope you want to give to Ugandans as we wind up the discussion?
I really would like to call upon Ugandans not to give up. No retreat, no surrender. The Constitution gives us power. Article 1 of the Constitution tells us that power belongs to us. But as we sit and as we watch, as you can see, power has been snatched from us. It is now in the hands of a few people. But Article 3 of the Constitution tells us that we have the right to use every means available to us to reclaim our freedom and reclaim this power. That we have the duty to defend the Constitution jealously as Ugandans. And as for me, there is a vow I made when I was joining that parliament, that I will defend the Constitution. And I said, help me God. So at all times, I will ensure that I defend and protect the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda to the extent that I cannot allow to see anybody violate it as I watch. So I call upon all Ugandans, let's stand firm and fight for our freedom. It can never be given on a silver platter. You have to work hard for it.
The Iron Lady from Kasese district, and the former Member of Parliament who have been discussing the state of politics and the aspect of United Forces of Change. She has promised and given Ugandans hope. We believe that everything begins with an idea and everything begins with, continues with hope. She called upon for a policy shift to have a better Uganda. Thank you so much, Honorable, for giving us your time, and we are so glad that you have spoken to us.
Thank you, Tukundane.
I am Ivan Tukundane, and this is The Ivan Show.
IT Media.
Empowering truth, inspiring change.